and I do too. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I was just going to talk a little bit about work incentives that are part of Social Security. And I wasn't necessarily going to talk about how to go about getting Social Security. This was more of a conference on if you are on Social Security, what are some of the incentives that Social Security has put in place to allow you to think about working in not only keeping your benefit, but potentially, with all these incentives of actually retaining your benefit in the hopes of being able to work and keep your benefit. That's the idea. But first of all, let me just talk about two programs. There's SSI, which is Title 16, and there's also SSDI, which is Title 2. These are both managed programs under Social Security, federal programs. If you're on SSI, it's more needs-based, so you weren't insured necessarily to get benefits, so it's another way to get benefits under supplemental security income. And then SSDI is based on getting your benefit as a fully insured person who has contributed with your taxes and been able to qualify based on that. So that's SSDI and SSI. And under SSDI, you can get help for your dependents. Like my wife passed, and my dependent gets a benefit based on the fact that my wife passed. She qualified based on the amount of earnings that my wife had before she passed. So one of the programs that Dan had mentioned to me that is kind of going around is Ticket to Work program or self-sufficiency program. It's been around for a long time. I've presented on it before, but it's changed a little bit. And Ticket to Work is a program that is a work incentive to get people thinking about working and getting help with exploring work. And one of the things that people do is they go through an employee net. You got to pick a network, an employee or employment network. For us, Department of Rehab, that's who you use. There are other networks that can help, and you can get a list of those. I can provide that information to you at the end of this presentation. But basically, you're getting help with training, resume writing, interview prep, counseling. These are some of and assistive technology. And these are some of the areas that can help under a Ticket to Work program. But also, another thing is called CDRs. And if you're on Social Security, you know what those are. They're continuing disability reviews. That happens every 3 years or 7 years. Even under permanent disability, they still have to look to see if you can if you're earning an income after 7 years, or at least 3 years minimum. So if any of this gets a little confusing, you can always email me at the end, and I can give you this information slower, and we can talk about it further. Just remember, you can contact ssa.gov online, and they have a lot of tabs. It's a good website. And calling Social Security is not the best way to get information, and it's nothing against 10,000 workers that are taking your information. It's very time consuming. You can spend an hour waiting depending on the time of the day, and you can get blocked or cut out, that is. So I recommend you go on to ssa.gov, or if you have questions, contact me. But the other thing about Ticket to Work is there's a program called PASS, P-A-S-S, and it is basically an acronym for self-sufficiency. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get help with starting a job or your own private business. If you're thinking about opening up your own business, you basically can get help from Social Security under the Ticket to Work program by writing a PASS, a plan for self-sufficiency. I know it's a little wordy, but that is the program that will allow you to be able to basically explore getting help for writing not only this PASS plan for your own self-employment, but also you're going to get a little break in terms of how they scrutinize your benefit while you're working on this job. So I didn't want to stay too long on Ticket to Work because there's other things that I really want to get to. But essentially, if you want to look at Ticket to Work, you can go to ssa.gov. I have a phone number if you want to call them. I also have a Ticket to Work website, but you can ultimately go to ssa.gov and just type Ticket to Work.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm 73.
Yeah.
I was collecting Social Security benefits when my accident occurred.
Uh-huh.
But I haven't been able to work
Right.
for 3 years.
Okay.
Can I qualify for any additional benefits?
You wouldn't qualify for any more. If you're getting regular SSA right now, you wouldn't get any additional benefit
If it's available.
unless you worked. Work you would add to your benefit. You could work and earn any amount of money right now and still get your benefit. If you're under 70, you're not going to get your full benefit. But let's say you're getting $2,000 a month right now from Social Security. Being over 70, you can work and earn any amount of money and still get your full $2,000. In fact, that benefit will increase as you put more into Social Security.
So
But if you're not going to work, you're not going to add to your benefit.
I can't drive.
Yeah, your benefit's not going to change. It's only going to change at the end of the year when they add a little percentage increase,
Right.
which they did this year, which was the
Right.
biggest increase they've had in 15 years. So, if that answers your question, that's a good question, though.
But there is no other additional Social Security benefit.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, anybody else have any questions about Ticket to Work? Okay, so let's get past Ticket to Work, pass. There's another, you might want to write this down. It's pretty simple. You can Google Redbook, REDBOOK, SSA. And that's a tool I use to, it's a guide for employment benefits for people on Social Security, disability, or SSI. It's a wonderful tool. The last one was printed in 2020. They have some updates, but it's pretty much the same. So I use that. It's called Redbook 2020, Redbook Social Security. It'll put you in, if you Google it, it'll put you in the Social Security site, and then you can look at what I'm going to explain to you a little bit. There's something called a fact sheet. You can type that up too, SSA fact sheet, and that will tell you exactly some of the amounts that basically people can earn, still keep their benefit. For instance, it also shows the COLA, which is the cost of living adjustment, which was pretty high this year. It was actually a 7% increase, which was good. Even though that's not a lot, but it's better than it has been. Some years they even provide it. You also have it shows how much Social Security it's called substantial gainful activity, SGA. That's another term that you're gonna have to get familiarized with if you're on the benefit, especially Social Security disability insurance. This year it's $13.50 per month. So if you're earning in a job over $13.50 per month, I'll explain that later. You technically under Social Security, you're not necessarily going to qualify for the benefit unless you can make adjustments to that earning, and I'll show you how that's done. This year, like I said, it's $13.50 per month. If you're making $13.50 or higher, you're technically working under Social Security. Trial work period month, which I'll explain that in a second here, is $9.70 per month. Okay. Now, some of the things that can happen if you're on Social Security and you're thinking about working is something called employment-related work expense. Those are called IRWEs, and essentially it's basically items or services that enable you to work. So if you have to get your let's say medication, and it's required for your work and for you to be stable at work, and you're paying out of pocket for some of that, that's actually considered an expense that you can write off against the amount that's reported to Social Security, your earnings. Service animals, if you pay for any type of service animal, that can be like an animal, a dog, not a companion, but an actual service animal. Transportation costs, taking the bus, or if you're special, actually, the transportation costs would be special cost that you have to put out. You know, if you're taking a special bus, in other words, if you're putting out money for a private ride or an Uber, but it's required that you have an Uber, then you can use that. We had someone that actually had to, in her presentation, had to have her hair done once a week. That was used as a write-off against her earnings. So these are examples of IRWEs. They're all under work incentives for Social Security to try to get people to think about working again, but reduce what they report to Social Security. The reason I'm telling you some of this stuff is because the whole idea is to keep your money below SGA. I mean, if you're making $3,000 a month, you're not going to be able to do that. That's okay. But there's another employment-related work expense. It's called subsidy. And subsidy is a good tool. And basically what subsidy allows you to do is it allows you to write off a certain amount of your earnings because your employer is subsidizing your work. For example, if I'm working, I got a brain injury and I'm tired, I need a break throughout the day, and my breaks add up to maybe 20%, I can write off 20% through my employer of what I report to Social Security. So that's a big difference. Let's say I'm making $1,500 a month. If I'm writing off 20%, I'm writing off, basically $300, or actually $300, and I'm falling below SGA. So I would still get my benefit. So it's a really simple, unused tool that I use quite a bit. And all it takes is an employer writing that Mr. Bogdan is working at 80% capacity of this position. We keep him, of course, because he shows up every day, does his job, doesn't bother too many people. And but essentially you're using that as a tool to write off some earnings to Social Security. Social Security are interested in what you earn, not necessarily what you make, okay? So you'll keep all that money that you make, but Social Security will only get reported on what you actually earn, which is, I would only earn $1,200, not $1,500. Any questions? I know it's a little wordy so far. No,
Yeah,
no questions.
we got a question here from Christy.
Okay, Christy.
Hi. On full retirement age, I was just reading this morning that it's like at 66. I'm 68. And is all of this even relevant to me at this point if I start back to work?
It is relevant, and you can email me at the end, and I can show you how work would affect your benefit from the. Are you receiving your Social Security right now?
Yes.
Okay,
Retirement, not disability.
Yeah, and after 60, you probably got it at what, 66?
No, I started at 62 actually.
Okay, so you got it at 30% less than you would get at, let's say, 66. That's what my mom did as well. So at right now, I mean, you could go to work, and I can explain how earnings will be looked at by Social Security and your benefit and how it's affected. After the age of 70, you can work and earn as much as you want. But between your retirement age of 62 and 70, there are some qualifications that I can discuss with you.
Okay,
And,
are you going to put your email in the chat or somewhere then?
Yeah, at the end,
Okay.
I will.
Okay, I'll wait for that.
Okay,
I'll write it down.
Yeah, David.Bogdan at stjoe.org. Ruben's going to write it down for you.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Spell your name again, please.
David, D-A-V-I-D, Bogdan, B-O-G-D-A-N. Okay.
There's a period in between that.
I'm just gonna put it in, yeah, David.Bogdan,
There you go.
David.Bogdan at stjoe.org. And that's stjoe.org.
DOE.
Yes. Okay, so we've kind of discussed, ticket to work, impairment-related work expenses, subsidy. These are all tools to get you thinking about working again. But there's another tool that doesn't get used a lot. It's called trial work period. And if you looked at the fact sheet, or if you pull a fact sheet from Social Security, you just type up Social Security fact sheet, you Google that, and they'll print out one for you, or you can print one out for yourself. It'll say 2022 Social Security changes. Trial work period is $970 per month. So what is the trial work period? Trial work period is basically an attempt at working, and you're trying to work with your benefit. Let's say you have SSI or SSDI, or SSDI specifically, and you go back to work. For 9 months, you're able to work and earn any amount of money, non-consecutive months over a 5-year span. So let's say you start to go back to work, you're making $10,000 a month or $5,000 a month, let's just say. Well, that's way over SGA, substantial gainful activity, but Social Security has a work incentive in place that allows you to think about working again and earning any amount you can make, and we'll keep your benefit going. Social Security will keep your benefit going. So that's the best incentive that I can see that is unused too. So Social Security, what happens is you start earning this money, and let's just say after 3 months you fall below, you only work a couple hours a week and you make $500. Well, you don't use up a month then. And let's say you quit 4 months later, and you don't use up your months, your trial work months. That's fine. You can go back to work again eventually, and eventually, let's just say you use up 9 months of trial work period, okay, over 5 years. Well, at that point, Social Security is going to look at what you earned. If you were earning over, a couple thousand, 3,000 a month on average, they're going to stop your benefit, and they're going to pay you a few months, cessation months, they call it. But here's another thing that kicks in after that. And now, mind you, this is wordy, but I'll explain it to you. If you guys have questions, just email me and I'll talk to you. But even after let's say you're out of your benefit, you're earning $5,000 a month, you're back to work, and you lose your job within a 3-year span after losing your benefit will kick in right away again. It'll start right back in. You don't even have to call them. You can call them. I suggest you call them, but your benefit will kick in. Not to mention that if you fall below SGA for that year, this year it's $1,350. SGA, substantial gainful activity. Last year was $1,320. If you fall below that those earnings, let's say you went from $5,000 to $800 a month, your benefit will kick in that 3-year window. That's called the EPE, extended period of eligibility. It's a beautiful tool too, and it's just another way for you to think about working.
What is SGA again?
SGA is substantial gainful activity. That's what Social Security considers work. And this year it's making over $1,350, making $1,350 or greater. That's SGA. Now there's one more incentive I wanted to mention, that's called EXR, or Expedited Reinstatement of Benefits. Let's just say after 5 years from now, or before 5 years, you've exhausted that 3-year window of extended period of eligibility where you went below, above, below. But let's just say at the end, you started working again and you lost your job. You can actually call Social Security and ask them to reinstate your benefits without getting an application again. And that's another good thing to happen, because that will allow you to, they're just going to scrutinize to see what your earnings are. and they'll put you back in the system. So these are a few of the tools that you can use if you're thinking about going back to work and you're on a benefit. If you're not on a benefit, talk to me. Send me an email, call me. My number is if you want to take it, 714-681-0427. Ruben will post it. That's my work direct cell. And leave a message, and I'll get back with you on discussing how to go about the process of maybe exploring getting a benefit, whether it be SSI or SSDI, or just regular Social Security. I can tell you what you need to do, the process, when you need to get an attorney involved, how long to expect, what kind of records you're going to need to get to really show what is needed to prove that your disabling condition warrants a Social Security benefit. Because a lot of people are going to be doubtful at Social Security. They want to see records. They want to see proof. Even though my clients have disability, they don't always get Social Security because they don't have the medical records behind it. I've utilized Daniel for writing reports, which are really significant. It's been very helpful with neuropsychology reports that do a really good outline of testing that really show and determine some of the issues that clients are having with their disability or disabling condition. Unfortunately, we need other reports, but if you look at a neurologist, they're not going to do that extensive testing. They're going to look at diagnostics like MRIs, fMRIs, SPECT scans, and it doesn't always determine that you have a significant injury.
They look at the physical aspects of it, like the organ.
Right.
The brain is an organ physically,
Certainly.
not function.
Right.
That would be SPECT
Yeah, the SPECT. Right, the SPECT, which is a little bit more definitive.
and very expensive.
Very expensive. And sometimes I've had a couple people get SPECT scans through Medi-Cal, but that was a lot of pushing by
I want one.
by the
With
person.
With Dr. Daniel, amen.
Yeah, and Daniel actually went through Daniel Amen too. So, and sometimes you to get sponsorship to get that, it's a process.
I'd like to start that. I'm very sincere about it. I've known about it quite some time. I first spoke to him 25 or so years ago.
He's a psychiatrist, right, Daniel?
Yeah.
And he's all over he writes books, but he's all over the place, and he does have offices here.
Yeah.
But they do some work,
I
and
went to Santa Ana.
not everybody gets aboard necessarily with getting a free exam, but it's something to inquire. But it's also something to inquire through your insurance. If you have private insurance, Medicare, if you're trying to get some determination. What's that? No, I'm saying not with Daniel Amen. I'm talking about with your own insurance and your doctors. Especially if you're trying to get a benefit. You want as much information as possible in building your case. But I can help you with that process online. It takes a little bit to figure out, but it's a pretty good system online. And the important thing is, if any of you guys are thinking about starting it, typically you have to have been without work for 14 months, which means Social Security is saying that you have been on state disability in that time. So in other words, if you got a disabling condition, you were working, you should be able to qualify for SDI, state disability insurance, which can pay you up to a year. Then you would qualify possibly for Social Security or federal disability by applying for federal disability at the 14-month window. But I can talk to you more about that and what steps you need to take.
Okay.
So
Yeah, perfect. And so we had a couple of questions here, David.
Yeah,
So is what you're speaking about applied just in California, correct?
No. What I'm speaking about is actually federal. It's across
Okay.
the board. Yeah, these numbers,
Okay.
1350, are across the board. There's
Okay,
nothing
so
that,
yeah, that was a question we had in the chat. So it is applicable to outside of California as well.
right. The only thing I would tell you that is going to vary is how you're paid SSI in different states. In our
Okay.
state, California, where I'm at, we put in the most amount of money into our state supplement. So in other words, if you're getting, the rate, I think is about 800 or 895, but the base is like 695, but we kick in at like 207 bucks or 230 in our state supplement. Where some states with SSI, they will actually make you apply for food stamps, or CalFresh in this state, it's called CalFresh, but they'll make you apply for food stamps in other states or other monies to add on to your benefit. But in this
Okay.
state, so that's the only thing that's different.
Okay,
But
perfect.
All these
And
standards are,
yeah.
all these standards meet all states. So
Okay.
that I mentioned,
Great.
the work
Perfect.
incentives, ticket to work. So
Thank you.
any other,
Thank you. Yeah.
any other
Christy, you have a question there?
Yes. Do people have are people on disability and retirement and go to work, or do you, once you go on disability, do you have to forfeit working at all? And is the retirement gone at that point too?
Well, retirement could be the form of, a private, Mike could talk about this, but like a private retirement that you have with your, like a pension. If you're talking about retirement as in Social Security,
Right.
the question is, can you get Social Security, your regular retirement, disability? No. Once you turn retirement age, whether it be you take it at 62, 66 and 7 months for me, or 70 for some, your disability will roll into a regular Social Security benefit. So yeah, you can work while you have your disability. That's what I'm really trying to discuss and encourage people to think about, if they want to, about working while on your benefit. And there are a lot of buffers for you, including this trial work period, employment related work expenses, ticket to work, but really subsidy, employment related work expenses, and trial work period. These are all tools that can keep you on your benefit while you're trying this out, this whole work thing again, or for the first time.
Oh,
Okay.
perfect. And then
Okay, thanks.
Heather had something there?
Yeah, sorry. This goes probably back to the beginning because this whole thing kind of confuses me. But you know how you said there's the reviews?
Yep.
Like what could they kick you off for? Like you have to do something like pretty bad, or because I've gotten, I think it was a review where I just had to like check things off and send it back to them. But I think a bigger review is coming up. Like, are they looking for like, I've done like gone to jail, or I've like done stuff like that, or are they looking at like I'm mentally able to do stuff? Do you have any idea? Like, I'm just
Yeah.
worried that they would kick me off for some reason.
And it's a good question. These CDRs are continuing disability reviews. I'll just give you an example. Some of you know Superman. It was Christopher Reeve. He was an actor. He was on, he applied for Social Security. I guess this isn't the perfect example, but it's an example. He didn't get Social Security. He was very upset. The reason he didn't get Social Security is he made too much money as a director, even disabled. So he didn't qualify. But in your general question, which is, hey, I get a CDR, I'm a little panicky about it. And a lot of people are, and they call me. You fill out those check boxes, are they gonna come after me? They're really looking at, what kind of money are you making? Are you making money? How much are you earning? And then Social Security has that on record, right? Especially if you're on SSDI. They know what you're making.
Right.
But don't count on them to follow your case. And that's where I guess I can explain to you that I help people with overpayments too. Because sometimes I've had $40,000 overpayments that Social Security expected my client to pay, because my client kept on working, making good money, and kept on getting her benefit. And she kept on putting away and finally told me about 10 years later. and they wanted all their $40,000. And we
But
got it reduced.
if I don't work though, like they're not gonna say, oh, we think you're like, I'm not gonna have to go through a court case again to prove
No.
that.
No,
No. Okay.
if they, to really determine fraud, like let's just say someone committed a fraud, which they do. This happened with 9/11. There were probably about 100 people, firemen in the fire department, police department, that were committing fraud. And fraud being that they were getting falsified reports about their condition. And their condition wasn't necessarily head injury, it was all other conditions. Well, not only did the doctors get in trouble, but these beneficiaries or potential beneficiaries got in trouble because they completed a fraudulent process. You're already in the system. If you're having ups and downs, that doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter to you, but to Social Security, they're interested in what your income is,
Okay.
because that's showing that you're able to work again. But let me just tell you this, and here's another thing that you want to know. If you guys go out there and you start work and you're not on a benefit yet, and it doesn't work out. Daniel can talk about this because we have a gentleman that's part of the group that he could get a job, but he couldn't hold a job. Okay, that's pretty standard, right? He got probably about 15 jobs before he finally found one and stuck with it. What we tried to do, and he unfortunately in this case doesn't have the benefit yet because he started and stopped so many jobs, which was good for him. But for Social Security, what I could have claimed is I could have claimed a failed work attempt. And I've done it with people that have tried to go to work and they were having a horrible time at work, but they stayed on the job for 6 months. I was able to wipe all that out under Social Security's rules of a failed work attempt. And that way you could go back and say, we're going to wipe out that 6 months, and you're in that 14-month window where you can apply. So it just allows you to apply faster and
Okay.
get the benefit faster. But to answer your question, I hope that answers. Just check off those forms. Make sure you fill it out, the CDRs. If you have questions, call me because they're fairly simple. And if you do have some employment, you guys, you can call me and I can tell you how it's going to affect your benefit and what you should report, because SSI reporting is different than SSDI. Under SSI, if some of you are on SSI, it's needs-based. So for every $2 you earn, SSI will take, Social Security will take $1 out of your SSI benefit. Okay, so rules apply to them too that will work in your benefit. But just so you know, with Social Security disability, it's $13.50 per month. That's considered work. With SSI, anything over $85 is considered work. So if you make $100, they're going to take out the first 85 is free. $15, they're going to take half of that and take it out of your benefit. So if you're making $600 a month SSI, they're going to take $7 out. If you're making $100, if you're making $500, they're going to take out 250 minus 85. So they'll take about 165 out of your SSI benefit. Okay.
Thank you.
For SSI, supplemental security income
Per month?
per month. Yeah, whatever your earnings are per month. You just want to kind of stay on top of your benefits. Does anyone have any, even outside the window of what we're talking about, does anybody have any questions on Social Security?
Well, there are some questions in the chat.
Okay.
I particularly was asking about, well, just clarification on monies earned versus monies gained. And, you know, how do you distinguish that and which ones do you report? And also, how difficult is it to get your benefits reinstated after you finish the work? Or, you know, whatever.
Okay, so the first question, we'll go to the first question, which actually, I'm thinking about the reinstatement. I'll start with the reinstatement. The reinstatement of benefits, like I said, if you're working and for some reason you're in a window of time where you're not getting a benefit, you're working, you're earning, let's say 2,000 a month, and you're in that extended period of eligibility, for example, for 3 years, your benefit will kick in again if you fall below SGA for that year. This year, it'll be 13
Automatically?
automatically. If you fall below SGA, not even if you lose your job, if you fall below SGA, so if you make 1,000, but what you don't want to do is you don't want to be making $13.49 a month, because then you're sending red flags that you're keeping your money artificially below that benefit marker. And look, I can argue for that. I've had people that have been pretty close to that. That's fine. They're not going to question it. But if you're making $13.49, you're probably raising some eyebrows. If they even see it, they may see it 4 years later. That's why you want to kind of keep track of your benefit yourself, or have me help you regarding your benefit. And your first question again was, I forgot.
Oh, just the difference between monies earned and monies gained, and which one are you actually reporting?
Well, if you're not using IRWE, employment-related work expense, or subsidy, it's just whatever you earn is reported. So if you make $1,200 a month gross, not net, gross, that's what's reported. So if you make $1,500 a month, you need to call me because you're over SGA, and I need to know where you're at with the window, right? Are you on your trial work period, extended period of eligibility? And I know you guys, this is all new. I've been doing this for 20 years, and it takes a while for this to kick in. But you really need to know where you're at with your benefits. So you need to call me. But if you're working and making $1,500, that should be a red flag to you a little bit as to where am I at with this? Am I on my trial work period? I can help you with that. But let's just say you do use subsidy. And in my case, if I'm making $1,500 a month and my boss, Jack, writes a little statement that says, David works at 80% capacity of what is expected for this position, 20% is subsidized. Social Security gets this, and they take off 20%. I get paid the same, but they take off 20% as what is reported to them. So that would put me at $1,200. So I'd be okay. Completely legal. None of this is illegal. I wouldn't advise anything illegal, like hiding your money. I can't say stuff like that.
Okay, I better get out of this one now. I'm just kidding.
Right. And a really great question though.
Wonderful.
And so like Caitlin put in the chat, so for the CDRs, can it be filled self-report, or does a doctor have to fill them in?
The CDRs, typically you fill that out. Doctors sometimes will charge you for that, and but it's not required that on the CDR that the doctor fills it out. No, it's not like Medi-Cal or General Relief. We have a thing in our state where it's General Relief, where you have to get doctors to fill it out every 6 months to show that you still qualify for the $400 a month. That's typically a loan. With Social Security CDRs, it's just you filling that stuff out.
Okay, so it is the self-report there. Okay, thank you. Yeah, and then Susie had a question.
Oh, but Susie, before you answer, don't worry about the illegal statement I made. If you have questions and you're doing something that maybe is, you're stashing money in, below grandma's, bed, you didn't know, and I'll make an argument for you on that. So, it happens. I had a person that had $100,000 in gold bullion under his bed, and he was scared. He didn't know what to do with it. So I had to work through that. So just keep that in mind. Don't freak out. Just contact me. Or Daniel.
Yeah. Great. Excellent. So Susie had something there?
Yeah, I definitely think I need to talk to you. I have a hearing, coming up for SSI. I worked for 35 years. So it's not a whole thing, but I then started working right before and then didn't qualify because my to SSI. So I didn't qualify, so I'm under SSI. So I have an SSI hearing coming up after 3+ years, 3.5 years. So I have a lot of questions for you, but one of the questions is, I'm having a lot of difficulty with, I have like PCG, and I want to make sure they're prepared, and I haven't even heard back from them. And
Okay.
the hearing is September 23rd. And
What's that stand for? PCG? I'm sorry.
Public Consulting Group.
Okay. Is that who's managing your benefit or your benefit?
No,
potential-
that's who's managing my case, supposedly.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Your case for Social Security.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're with a group, and so you have some questions for me about what to expect.
They filed it, but I haven't heard back, and I was told that not to worry, that the attorney would contact me within 60 days. But once I finally had a date, now we finally have a date, September 23rd, which is 5 weeks away. Haven't heard. I keep calling, and now I'm getting a little like,
Sure.
Are they prepared? I want to go first time through, not 5th time through, like some people, how do I make sure? 2, I need all kinds of, I want to get my ducks in order. Do I just schedule time with you?
Yeah. And actually that's a great point, because David you've kind of hashed out like hour or 2 hours after our groups on Friday to assist individuals on a one-on-one basis, correct?
Yes, absolutely. But you can call other times too, and I'll set up with you, especially being pressing. But I just want to bring up a point, and Daniel probably can relate to this. We hear this a lot, how an individual that comes aboard Brain Injury Network already has a consulting group or an attorney or someone that's working with them. And sometimes, and I'm going to use Mike here, for example, they try to force feed you with, you better get this group here. We're going to provide you this group to apply for Social Security. Otherwise, it's conditional that you get your pension. You can do it yourself. You can call me. You can start that process, because I got to tell you, attorneys, and they won't argue with me on this, attorneys, these consulting groups, they get as many cases as possible. They don't work on the case. Their work comes in.
Can you do it?
Right now, you have a consulting group. I can't step in. I can only kind of help you with questions to ask them.
Okay.
And to kind of prepare you for the case, independent of what they're not doing, which is, hey, here's records I want you to get. Let me see your case. Let me see the guts of your case. And then I can get a better idea. The attorneys, unfortunately, they will have a nice meeting with you at the beginning, but when the court just in the beginning, but when the court date comes, that's what you're paying them for, is do they argue your case well? But like anything else, proper preparation prevents basically a piss poor performance. If you're not preparing that case, you're not going to have a lot going on. And these attorneys they want to work minimal to get their cut. And it's nothing against attorneys. They got a lot of cases. But Daniel, you were going to say?
Right. Yeah. So like, perfect. And so so those individual questions for your particular case, Susie, that'd be a great thing to contact David. His information is in the chat. And also he's has carved out 2 hours after group to meet individually. Swan, you had something there? And then David?
Yeah, I'm sorry, what was your name? Chris that spoke to me just now?
Susie.
Oh,
Susie.
Susie. Okay, Susie, I'll just call me. We'll set up a time. You
Okay,
can call me
sounds great.
after, and then,
Okay.
and then if I don't pick up, I'll call you back.
Okay, and then I also
Dave-
have a thing on supplies.
Sure.
David, I just wanted to thank you for your time with this group. I
Yeah.
actually just had a quick question regarding the application link that you're talking about. If one of your assistants could just post that in the chat. That's all. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, yeah, the application, specifically what, you mean my presentation? Or?
No, the application you're talking about to apply for whatever it is that you're talking about.
Oh, like SSDI or SSI or Ticket to Work and all that stuff?
Yeah, that's the one. And actually, it'd be great if you can send Daniel a copy of the PowerPoints and then he could forward it on to us. Thank you so much.
Okay, what I'll do is, typically with Social Security, I'm very careful because I've done presentations, and Social Security have been there in the presentations. So I typically draw right from some of these documents, but online, the application is very long. There's an initial process where you enter information, and then there's a secondary where you enter information. So what I can do is I can give you kind of a breakdown of some materials to kind of, I guess, provide to Ruben or Daniel to provide to you guys. And then I can be more specific also with some Social Security information that like Ticket to Work. I'll provide that at the very minimum. So if you want to inquire how to get to them quickly, SSA.gov is the best. And then
Okay.
you open up all these areas, but I can show you specifically, here's the Ticket to Work. And I have that information. I can provide it right now, actually. And here's a couple numbers, Ruben. But what I would say is also call me if you need to, if there's more specific information you need, but I will provide something. So it's
Okay.
Sue Ann,
Thank you
right?
so much, Swanee.
And
Yeah. Thanks.
one other thing is, you guys always appeal. If you have any questions or someone says your benefit stops, appeal. Appeal. And that you don't need an attorney to appeal. You just need to do it yourself. And what that will allow you to do is allow you to review it, call me, call your attorney, call your consulting group and say, look, I got this, they're telling me I have an overpayment. You appeal it. There's things specifically we can do to actually waive an overpayment. Sometimes we can waive an overpayment. Sometimes we can ask for a reconsideration because we don't feel it was our fault. To me, all overpayments are equal fault. They're usually Social Security and the beneficiary's fault. But Social Security never takes responsibility for being at fault on your benefit. You're supposed to keep track of that. But I try to say, look, this is what we've done. This is what we did in communication. I don't lie, and that will work. If that doesn't work, then we try to waive the payment or lower it. And guess what? I've had a $20,000 payment where I had it reduced to the person only being able to pay, having to pay $50 a month. And
And we do have a question in the chat.
Okay.
There was a question that said, an individual who said that they got SSDI, but they were supposed to get back pay. And when the back pay didn't come, they appealed it and that it was ignored. Saying that the case was already decided. So is there something as far as appealing, can you appeal again, or as far as back pay, is there anything that can be done with that?
well, if this person asks this question, if the person got the benefit and is actually entitled to Social Security and got the Social Security, but was refused the retro, there's timelines, and I'd like to know what their notice of intent was or what their notice said as to why they did not get the back pay, because that's an important issue. And sometimes they overpay on back pay, sometimes they don't pay it, and you have to argue with them. You have to appeal that decision. So what I would tell that person is appeal that officially, go on, call the 800-772-1213 if you want to post that.
Yeah.
That's Social Security. And you need to appeal the decision. That would be the fastest way. Call in the mornings. They're open till 8.
And you said 800-772-1213?
Yes.
And then just real quick, the number for the Ticket to Work program, real quick.
The Ticket to Work program
866.
is 866-968-7842. But getting back to that person that didn't get their retro, yeah, good point. Especially if they told you you're entitled to it, why has that changed? It could be that they processed it wrong, they figured it wrong, because you got to remember when you file for Social Security, it's called a retroactive filing date. When you call or when you go online and you file, that date is earmarked. Doesn't mean that's when you were disabled, but they go back 1 year from that date to determine if you were eligible for benefits in that previous year. And let's say you had your injury 8 months earlier, well, that would be their date. But if you were getting SDI in that time or workers' comp, that would affect your retro. So there could be some mitigating circumstances there. So I would suggest that person call me, or whoever you are, call me at 714-681-0427 to give me more details.
Okay, perfect, David. And yes, so excellent. And so we have David. We have a question from David.
Okay.
I had a quick question. I was interviewed earlier this week by someone that's working for SDI, which I'm on. I've been on SDI for eight months. And they asked me a whole bunch of memory questions. And the funny thing is I'm really good at short-term memory, and I can speak very, very well compared to a lot of people with head injuries. My head injury affects midterm memory, and I'm really good with long-term memory too.
Sure.
So the guy said, well, you definitely have a memory problem, but you're overcoming it with your intelligence. And I was flattered by that, but then I thought, well, maybe they're going to cancel my SDI because of it. What do you think?
First of all, is this state disability or federal disability?
SDI, state disability.
Oh, state disability. Okay. State disability, when you apply initially, you have to go through that long battery of paperwork to fill out, and your doctors have to fill out paperwork.
Right. And we've done all that. Now they're just following up with examining me 8 months into it, saying, we're going to test you. You got to go to this doctor and have him test you, which I thought it was a medical doctor. It turned out it was a psychologist.
Right. And it was a state paid psychologist. And what you might want to do, what do you have right now? Do you have Medi-Cal as far as insurance? Yeah, Medi-Cal, Medicare, private, what do you have?
It's private insurance at the moment. I qualify for Medicare in 1 more year.
I tell you what I would do just to counter what potentially could happen is I would see your doctor, and I would make an appointment, see your doctor and say, look, I need to demonstrate that my disability or disabling condition is preventing me from having functional memory. Daniel can speak to this too. Functional memory that allow me to work in a capacity that I earn SGA. You don't have to say all those words, but basically what you want is some evidence that says, yeah, he's got a disabling condition, and it's not helpful for work at this point, especially being fresh. And to have long-term memory, yeah, so what? I'm glad you do have it. A lot of people do with strokes and brain injuries, but to actually get out the door sometimes without returning 12 times, that's another thing. That's functional memory. That's functional day-to-day grind.
It's very difficult. I worked as a CPA for many, many years. And lately, I don't recognize my clients, and I don't understand any of the tax law changes that occurred in the last year. So it's like, I really don't think I can work because I don't even recognize the people.
Do they know that you're a CPA? That whoever interviewed you? Okay, good, because CPA and enrolled agents, and I worked with an enrolled agent and a CPA on a side job, is minutia. Is very detailed, very line item work that you have to be cued in on. Right. And your short-term memory, it's going to be a tough, return.
Yeah. My problem is I speak very well. I mean, my head injury occurred on the front of my head and not in the middle of the head where the brain does its thinking for speaking. So I speak very well, but I just don't remember stuff.
Well, that's part of the bugaboo, is that appearance will fool people, and how many of us, or how many of you that have head injuries are judged unfairly, right?
Well,
So,
I'm kind of glad of it because most of the people I talk to think I'm all well, which is kind of, I like that part, but it's not really true.
well, I'll tell you what, if that's coming from a state, basically a doctor, just like with Social Security doctors, 1 out of 500, I think, get approved. You want to have your own evidence materials coming from your doctors, not state paid doctors by Social Security or state disability. These are state paid doctors, federal.
No, I know.
Yeah,
Well, I'll see
even-
what they come up with, but I'm just kind of worried about it a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, excellent. And Violet, you had something for you had a question, Violet?
I did, thank you. I have, what do you call those? IRAs and a 401k, that's, anyway, those, what do you advise, or should I just make an appointment with you to talk about whether or not they could impact me in the near future?
Oh, what was that acronym you said? Spell it out again, the first part of the question.
IRA?
It's called a HIRA.
No, the IRA, the IRA.
Oh, IRA. Okay.
Yeah.
You have an
Individual
IRA.
retirement account?
Yes. Okay, my bad. Not a HIRA, an IRA. Okay, I just heard that wrong. Are you on a benefit currently?
Well, just me doing it on my own now.
Are you receiving Social Security?
Yes,
Are
I
you
just
receiving?
started this last month.
Are you receiving Social Security disability insurance or SSI?
Oof, the disability one, I think that's the correct one.
I'm going to ask a personal question. You don't have to answer this, but are you getting over 1,000 a month?
I do want to meet with you.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
But the reason I'm asking that is because that will allow me to know if you're on SSI or SSDI. But you can talk to me on it. But here's the deal with SSDI. If you're making over 1,000 roughly, that kind of tells me you're on SSDI, and that question will be answered a little differently than if you're on SSI. IRAs, you can have IRAs on SSDI. Okay. With SSI, they look at that as a resource. If it can be cashed out, it's a resource. Basically, everything is a resource besides a house and a car. Anything beyond that is considered anything over 2,000 if you're single, 3,000 if you're married, is considered additional resource that can prevent you from keeping your benefit unless we get it spent down or adjusted. So just let me know if you're on SSI or SSDI, and then just call me, and I'll help.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Violet.
Violet. Okay, Violet.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. And Shelby just asked here too. So Ruby, can you put David's contact information in the chat again? Because Shelby will be contacting. She just got on SSI, and we have a question from Pam.
Hi, thank you.
Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for your presentation. I talked with you briefly long ago, and I'm sure you probably don't remember me, but you were extremely helpful, and I so appreciate having a resource and someone like you who knows what they're talking about, and I could depend on it.
Thank you.
So thank you. I wanted to speak to the man who was a CPA, and I wanted to say this. I was in a profession that I had to leave because of my, my head injuries. And I was actually performing well in the eyes of others, but I began to make mistakes that frightened me. I was a registered nurse. I was afraid I would hurt someone. Nobody in my clinic knew. So, yeah, I appear normal, but I knew there
Yeah.
was a problem. I tried for 4 years. I went to the best neurologist I could find, and sought diagnoses from other people in the medical world, and everybody said that I was fine. So I ended up taking a job in a gift wrap department. And even with that job, to give you an example, when I was under stress one day, I wrapped a present and gave it to the people. They walked out the door. I turned around and looked on the shelf, and the earrings were still there. So I wrapped an empty present for them to take to their mother-in-law. So anyway, my point is this, that if you know that there's something wrong with you, and so I would follow the suggestions of finding diagnostician that can support that for you. The other thing, so that you can qualify for these benefits that are available. The other thing I wanted to mention to you is that, I was 63 and a half. So I just was thinking, oh, I'll just hold on, for a little while until I can qualify for my full Social Security benefits. But I ended up going ahead and applying for Social Security disability. And what happened was, the first time I got denied, but the second time when I had my hearing, actually had a hearing, they approved me like in 2 days.
Yeah,
which is really unusual. So, but my point is this, and then when I got approved, I got like $70,000 for back pay. And so I'm trying to tell you that, don't just hold off, find the support you need to validate what you're experiencing. And don't let your pride, stand in front of you saying, well, I'm a professional and nobody knows I'm impaired. The fact is you are impaired, and you're harming yourself by, messing around with anything. And just because you're going to qualify for Social Security in a little while, doesn't mean that you don't deserve the back pay that is there for you. So that's all. I won't take more time. I just was moved to speak about my experience when I heard you talk. Yeah, thank
Very
you.
helpful.
Okay.
And what I'll add to that is this, and it's important for all of you to know that she said that she wanted to wait till probably 66 to get her full benefit when she was 63 and a half. Guess what? If she applied at 63 and a half, she would get her full benefit under disability at 63 and a half if she was determined to get a benefit at that time.
That is what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. If you're ready to do it, don't say to yourself, I'm going to wait. The only reason you would wait is if you are not on a benefit and you want to wait till from 62 to 66 to get your full benefit, or wait till 70 to get 30% more than you would get at 66. Like my mom took out at 62 because of financial situations, but that was a mistake because it cut her out 30% than what she would get at 65, her retirement age. My retirement age is 66 and 7 months. And so, it all depends. That's starting to go up higher and higher as we age. Probably Daniel, what, 16, 17 years old?
I think he's 18.
18? Okay.
Oh yeah, I was 18. I was 18.
You'll probably get your benefit at 71, and that's the way it's going in terms of, just so you know. I'm just kidding, Dan. Doctor.
Great.
Yeah.
Optimistic. Love it.
I hope that helped with that question. Well, thank you, Pam. But I hope you guys realize if you're going to, just keep in mind, if you can always appeal and then call Daniel or myself or Ruben, and we'll try to work on getting you some information that maybe you're not getting from your attorneys, your consultants. But if you're thinking about starting the process, try not to go through the consultants. It's fine, but a lot of times that's forced on you to, hey, you better get a consultant to start that. Otherwise, we're not going to give you this type of benefit, which might be general relief, for example, which I have a client getting general relief, and they said, you have to be on Social Security. I applied. But they gave us a network to apply, but they weren't going to do the same intensive for various reasons.
All right, perfect. And Susie has another question there. On your meeting.
Sorry. What about getting like I called Megan, who was very sweet, but didn't think she could help until after the fact because I'm in school. And she said, well, when you finish the Coastline program in 2 years, you know, the Coastline ABI program,
Yeah.
you know, the full-time program, then maybe I can help you. Well, I need the headphones and the stand-up desk and the various things to do the Coastline program so that I can then return to work. And she was saying, she didn't even seem to know what the Coastline program was, which confused me. Can you help me with that? Or how do I get how do I get the help I need to, you know, while I'm trying to, in the process, I guess I should say, not wait 2 years or 5 years to, you know, how do I get what I need when I need it?
Yeah, good question. And you're not on Social Security yet. You're not an SSI because that's what you're
I
working
am
on.
on Social Security. I'm on Social Security early. I'm 64, but on Social Security early.
Okay, so you're on Social Security. You know, the whole ticket to work can help with those areas, but instead of that I wouldn't necessarily suggest that. I would suggest you go through ATEC, which is assistive technology.
Okay, wait, what's that?
Well,
that's a Goodwill.
You start with DOR, and then assistive technology, it's called ATEC. It's in Orange County, and they are contracted.
Is that what I called? Isn't that Maria S? Isn't that who I called?
That's
Maria
the DOR.
Okay.
ATEC is Goodwill.
Okay.
Lauren Menning is her name. I sent it to you in an email.
Oh, okay. I Maria Scobito, something.
Yeah, no, she's with the DOR.
Yeah,
Okay.
Laura will get back with you. DOR can help too, and they contract with certain groups that can give you technology or start with technology. But that's a process, right? And
absolutely,
calling Laura at ATEC will be a good starting point to see about what kind of where she can help with technology.
Okay.
Me and Daniel.
Do you have her phone number? Do you have her phone number offhand?
I will get it.
No, it's in the email that Daniel sent you. You should be able to find her phone number as
Okay.
well as her.
And then let me know
Great.
if you're getting answers on the assistive technology, because we're still trying to get people open up to some of the certain computers. Department of Rehab is they get funds, they don't get funds. They're not always able to get the type of funding for those type of technologies. Daniel, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I just put her name in the chat. Her name is Lauren Menning. She's with OC Goodwill with the ATEC Center. And so you can just pop her name into Google and it will come up.
Okay, great.
But as far as DOR, Daniel, in the question of, I used to be able to get maybe a computer, obviously books and some other things, and they contracted with ATEC. What has been your experience with that?
Yeah, so I think we're talking about this, Susie, is the DOR, there's a very specific way that you have to address them, that you have to sort of contact with them. And so Maria Escobedo, for one, she's new. She took over for Penny Levoot, who is a couple of our DOR counselors. And so because she retired, Maria took her place about last year, so she might not know programs, well-known programs like the ABI programs around here.
Oh,
And so, like, are you a client of the DOR? Because you should be a client. You need to be a client first before they help you.
okay. Oh,
And you
okay.
can just call them and speak to the officer a day, and they'll assign a worker to you.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you have to be their client first. If you're not their client, they won't help you.
Oh, okay. So just sign up and then, okay.
Yeah. And then from there, that's when you can pretty much get the ATEC and assistance if it's in your treatment plan, as they call it, with the DOR.
Okay.
But you have to first
Okay.
become their client.
Okay.
And when you go in for these DOR meetings, which I used to be able to go in, you're not pressing that you need something right away. You're answering all their battery of questions. And then invariably what might happen is they'll invite you to, is there something you need? Do you need job coaching, job training, or job assistance? What about technology for school if you have a goal to get back to work? So that's where you would say, well, yeah, this is what I need at school to help me do what I'm able to do.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Sometimes it might even take, if you have a doctor or even someone that might say, hey, she could utilize, it'd be very helpful, and based on her income to get this type of assistance. That's a little much. Sometimes we've done that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Coastline was the one that came up with the specific types of headphones and different, I'd never even heard of these types of headphones or, oh, okay. Yeah.
We used to use this, Daniel knows about this, the Dragon Speak, which is something else.
Yeah, they mentioned something about that. Yeah. I'm not very good with technology, so yeah.
In ATEC, Goodwill, ATEC will know these kind of features and know that this is maybe necessary for your condition that allows you to be able to study.
Okay, great. Yeah, I don't know about these things. I just know what's missing, but I have trouble explaining to people, and Coastline's really good at explaining this will help, but maybe they can do that too.
Okay. Great.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And maybe you, after we talk, you'll be able to say, oh, try this, or maybe you can go in with me. I don't know. That'll be great.
Daniel, I would consult with, because Daniel is pretty good with the assistive technology, and Laura. We met with Laura, and Daniel has pretty good grip on that, and I'll consult with Daniel on that as well.
Okay, super. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, perfect. Great to know. Okay, super. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. So any other questions regarding accessing the Social Security benefits and being able to do so without having to risk or fear risk being your benefits?
This was very, very good. Thank you so much to all of you.
Yes, thank you very much, David. And so,
it's a lot of information. It's a little work.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, great. So please give me a round of applause for David. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, David.
And if there's topics on Social Security or benefits in general that we want to explore next time, maybe even how to prepare a case, if let me know, Daniel and Ruben.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
And you have my number, so call me today, tomorrow, weekend. If I don't pick up right away, I'll get your message. And I wrote down names, people, Susie, Maria, Shelby. Thank you, guys.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so wait, Susie, you have another question there? Oh, and you're muted.
If he's still there, is it better for us to go in alone without an attorney than play this legal, mumbo jumbo?
Well, yeah, so I mean, for those kind of questions, that Oh, yeah, I still see him. David, is that a question that you'd like her to repeat the question?
Do you want me to say it again?
Yeah, repeat the question.
Is it better for us to go in alone? Because I'm worried these people don't know my case. I know my case. I may not be able to articulate it extremely well, but I know my case. I know the doctors I've seen. Is it better for me to go in alone so that they can really see and hear me? Or is it better for attorneys who don't, or an attorney who's never seen me before to do his legal speak for the SSI?
And we can't hear you, David. So I don't know what happened, but we cannot hear you.
Okay, to answer your question, if you're going into SSI,
The first
going
time,
into
yeah.
the hearing, the consultant group has to produce someone to go in with you. So they should be at least consulting with you to let you know they're going to come in. So yes, you can go in. You will be going in alone with them. And if that answers your question. But if you have questions about what to expect, I can help you with that.
Oh.
I think we were going to talk on that.
Oh, yeah, we will. Yeah, we will. But I just didn't know if I should just tell them, forget you and just do it myself, the hearing.
Oh, well, the hearing you're going to do yourself, but the consultant group that you're with is supposed to have an attorney that will be there, because that's why they're
Okay.
going to get paid. They're going to get
So-
paid up to $6,000 in retro, or based
Right.
on the benefit.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I
if you're
just
not,
didn't know if they'd look more compassionately on me if I didn't have an attorney versus if I did.
no, look, my uncle got Social Security on his own. That was rare. That's
Oh.
rare. You really want legal representation because it is a courtroom, even though it's a little bit like this, so to speak. I mean, it's not real super formal, but it is formal. And
Okay.
they do have attorneys on both sides. They have representation of Department of Rehab will list jobs that you could potentially do, given your condition. And then your attorney will prepare you or help you along the process if there's any objections or, so it is a legal process. So it's nice to have an attorney in that. That's what you're paying. And you already signed up with this group. They're supposed to produce at least
Okay.
someone familiar, not necessarily an attorney, but someone that is authorized really to do that. And if they're not, let me know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, I don't even know how long the case is. I mean, is it 10 minutes? Is it an hour? Is it all day? Is it
It's
days?
probably more like an hour, and typically it's not in person. I don't know if you're doing it in person.
I don't even know. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
This question, Heather.
Sorry, I was just gonna tell Susie, like, for my case, I got denied and then I believe denied again with the lawyer, and I had to go into court with the lawyer. And it was most helpful for me to be able to have her be the in-between and tell the judge. So I before went to her and she knew my case, but she also knew it's gonna take me a while to get my answer out. I'm not just staring at the guy wondering what's going on. My processing is like, I'm processing what you're thinking, what you're asking me. I will get it out. There's certain things that she can relay because she knows I'm going to be anxious. She knows all these things that like are going to make me kind of at my worst, even though I present normal. In my head is not doing its best. So she was able to be like, let me rephrase this for Heather, because she knew I wasn't understanding the way he was. So she would say, when you tried to work, what would happen? Or, so she knew how to lead me to answer it the right way, where he like was not understanding. And I went in 15 years after my injury and was trying to get it after that long. So I had to really go in for and convince him that like I had to work because I didn't know any other way. So it had to be like, so like that's another way. I think having a lawyer there is like, you do like a debrief with them. They understand your issues, that you might need a break. If it's a long session, you might need a break, even to get out of there for 5 minutes, for a pep talk, for anything. There's certain things that you can get accommodations for because of your injury. And a lawyer will be able to say, oh, sorry, like just by looking at you. Or you can say, if I give you a signal of, it means like, I need a break, like,
Sure.
and she doesn't have to say to the judge, oh, my client needs a break because she gave me the signal. She'll just say, I think my client needs like a few minute break. Is it okay if we break? And so she or he, I just say she because I had a she, can do that for you. That's my experience.
Those are good. That's awesome. Firsthand experience. And I'll just add that we and Daniel had a shared client. He wrote up a neuropsych report for this person, and it actually, he was really struggling, but he was really struggling getting acknowledgement of his condition. And when he went to the hearing in Orange, I was there at the bottom floor to prepare him by saying what the judge is likely going to ask. And these are questions that judges will pop on you and just say, why do you think you need the benefit? Sometimes that happens, that they ask, and they have, if you Google it, they'll show you some of the questions that a judge may ask of you. So you can kind of prepare somewhat. And also just good points with being debriefed and being kind of sort of prepared by, with your attorney on what to do. I mean, there should be communication there.
And I even brought like a bulleted list for if I got lost in something, I could just go back to that, because I knew my main thing was that I was going in with like quality of life. So like I had worked all this period, but that meant I had no quality of life. So I was surviving that whole time and not living. So, you have to like remember that, like have what you want kind of in your head. Or for me, I can't really keep things in my head, especially when I'm nervous. So I just kind of bulleted it. And then again, like I said, the lawyer is there to like usher you through.
And the national average for approval at a hearing is anywhere between 35 and 40%. That sounds awful, but when you look at it from the time when you first apply, because people are new to it and you don't need an attorney to apply because they're not going to help you with all that information anyways, or consulting groups, your percentage of approval rate is about 5%, if not less. It's just kind of standard that you're going to get denied, even if you have a really solid case. And I can talk to you guys another time about what your disability evaluators are looking for, or Social Security, in terms of records, neuropsych eval, neurologist, primary care, are you part of Coastline? There's a laundry list of, what the judge is looking at, and what, more importantly, what your evaluators are looking at Social Security. So if you include a lot of this on your first application or second appeal, you have a better chance of raising that percentage from 5% higher. That's just an offbeat. If someone is going to apply, it's important. You're not going to hear it from an attorney or a consultant group on what all the information you need to get. Social Security produces something that says, but this is what we're looking for. So you want to know what you want to get. The best tool I've used is a lot of times is just like neuropsych evals. They've been very helpful because they're very detailed, very, and very structured.
Did you just say neuropsychovalence?
Neuropsychological evaluations, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, a specialist with working with brain injury and how. Well, Daniel, I'll let you say. What does a neuropsychologist do? Because he's going to be a neuropsychologist.
Yeah. So neuropsychology essentially is taking all of the capacities that you are really coming up with, like cognitive efficiency. So like your memory, your thinking, your focus, your ability to process, retain pieces of information, right? Being able to make decisions, being able to stay focused and to fight off distractions, your ability to look and recall numbers, words, pictures, like all of these different things that are really dependent on, that you're dependent on, like your livelihood, your daily life, the things that you enjoy, the things that you can, planning, all of that stuff is heavily requires some cognitive ability. And cognitive abilities, they do change as you age, and they also significantly change after some kind of head trauma, right? And you can also, that head trauma can come in the form of a stroke, hemorrhagic hematoma, can also come in the form of a concussion, a brain injury, right? A tumor, an infection, things like that. And so as your cognitive ability changes, there are some things that happen that may not have been your fault, may not be natural. And those are the things that a neuropsychologist tries to understand. It takes you as the person, the age you're at, your previous occupation, your interests, your desires, the things that you love, the people around you, the things that you do, the things that you find interested in, everything about you, and tries to put that into context of how is your cognitive ability working, and are there things that, most importantly, as a neuropsychologist, budding neuropsychologist, I would say the most important thing is knowing those things, but the most important thing is what can I do to improve them? And so a neuropsychologist can do those things, and if they can address and measure and understand where some of those things are deficit for you, then that report could be very, very instrumental in something like a SSI or SSDI to illustrate to the judge that I am unable to work at no fault of my own. I need assistance, because if I was to get assistance, then some of these things might improve.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah.
I see that's the neuropsychology that I like to use for people that need therapy and need neuropsych therapy, or need an understanding, maybe a breakthrough, maybe some empowerment of where they're at. Because a lot of my clients, Daniel can speak to this, come into our program and they haven't gotten acknowledgement. And we all have deficits, whether we have a head injury or not. If I did a neuropsych eval with Daniel, I would have some deficits in areas. I'm not saying I have a head injury, but I would have deficits. And it's an important tool that is there's not enough neuropsychologists out there. So anyways, that's my own soapbox statement. Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, no, and thank you, David. Yeah, and you had a question there, Bruce?
Yeah. Most of what you've been talking about with all of the reviews and needing an attorney and not needing an attorney and going to see people, that's really for people that are under normal social security age. Is that correct?
Nope. Any age. You got overpayments. You're going to apply at 40 years old or 25. It applies to everyone.
But I'm 73.
And you know what? You're good in the sense that you already have your benefit coming in, right? And the only thing that's going to impact that right now is you would get more benefit if you worked, but you said you weren't planning on working.
So I have a question on that actually. So
Well-
I know that, Bruce, if you don't mind me saying, your wife is your caregiver, correct?
I'm sorry,
If you don't mind me saying, your wife is your caregiver, correct?
my wife is.
Caregiver.
She
I guess
doesn't care.
so.
Yeah.
Yes. So and this is just me asking out broadly, is there an option for his wife to get some sort of compensation for being his caregiver?
She could possibly qualify, but you would have to have, there's limits on what you could earn or have in resources. It's a state entity called In-Home Support Services. And people on SSI can automatically get in-home support services. However, they still look at you to see if it's for people that provide care to another individual in the house as well. So your loved one could get money to take care of you in this state, IHSS, but they may not qualify, or you guys may not qualify based on resources. But you can inquire, and I can give you the number for
Can
your
he set up an
wife.
appointment with you for the
Yeah,
both of them? Okay.
yeah.
Okay, great. We'll get that
Okay.
set up after.
Or I can talk to you, or have your wife call me.
Okay.
Call Dave and at my number.
And I'll get him your number.
In-home what?
Support services. Now, Daniel, can you speak to any other funded support services? I can't in California, I can't outside the states, but in Arizona specifically, but in-home support services seems to be the only entity that will pay a loved one or a caregiver or a provider of services. I do in-home support services for 2 people where I do cleaning, help with meal prep, and I get paid by the state.
Right.
But that person qualified for it. So you don't know of
So-
anybody else, do you?
Yeah, I
That
mean,
does-
there's in-home support services, and so like IHSS workers, right? You can also, there, another similar pot is, but it's a separate fund, is a habilitation worker. And so habilitation worker is like a cross between IHS worker and a rehab worker. But you could get additional hours that are habilitation hours, which is a benefit under Medicaid. So Medi-Cal or Cal Optima, depending if you're in Orange County. And so, yeah, so those are some different things that, if your wife is interested, your household could get additional funds to provide you care.
But I don't know if you're under Medicaid. So that's under the Medicaid, you would be able to get that habilitation or possibly IHSS. If you're not on Medicaid, you would probably have to go out and get private, but you don't have private pay for that because you already have your wife doing that. But the IHS is where you're gonna have to apply, but have your wife call me and I'll talk to her, discuss it with her.
Have my wife call you?
Yes,
Well, she works all day.
she can call me in the evening at my
Oh,
cell.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. You have my number, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Well, awesome. Thank you very much, David. Thank you very much for your time, sir. And
Thank you.
should any of you guys want to reach out, Susie, I know you got your hand up. If you want to reach out to David, you can contact him individually for the last. Oh, thank you very much, Megan. Megan G, you're great. Thank you. Yes, Susie. Yeah, you had some.
Question for you or for, I don't know who, on in-home health services. If your in-home, if your neuropsych thinks you need double the hours, it just made me think of it. If your neuropsych thinks you need, say, 80 hours and your in-home health services says you need 40, for example, what do you do to contest it or whatever? And
Yeah,
you're
well,
up for a
you gotta
review.
call, because then if you have IHSS workers,
Yeah.
hours, you will have an IHSS worker, that is
I
kind of
do,
managing.
but what I'm saying is, do I go through you? Do I go through
Them,
David? Through them
yeah.
to
you-
contest it?
Yeah, you would appeal, and then if they're saying that that no or whatever for no for whatever reason, then you would bring that reason to David or myself.
Okay, I didn't know who to go to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we'll first go through appeals with them. So
Okay.
yeah, excellent.
It just
And
made me think of it, yeah.
yeah. So not pretty good. So I mean, it was a really
Yeah, it
great
was great.
presentation. Let me stop the recording
Excellent.
there.